Today we're going to have a little chat about job hunting and what people are saying. Now, I watch a lot of TikTok and I watch a lot of YouTube, and one thing that I have noticed recently is this whole idea that remote positions are dying. I don't know in what planet they're saying that, or why the experts, so-called experts, are saying that, because there are plenty of remote positions that are being born right now, and many remote positions that are being created. Because here's the thing: there's this is the Roxpiracy. I'm gonna give you the Roxpiracy first, and then I'm gonna give you the rest of the stuff that I've learned in the last few weeks of job searching. There is somebody that is very close to me that said to me, "This must be a conspiracy created. I mean, not a conspiracy, a rumor started by the gas industry, because if people are staying home, they don't spend that much money on gas." I would like to think that that is a conspiracy, but that sounds a little bit too close to home, so I'm not going to take that one. But there's also this thing about, well, they need to bring the people back to the offices because they're paying for offices that are not being used. Now, that might be closer to the truth. However, that's for positions that were created for brick and mortar institutions. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are working from home in jobs that have always been home positions. For example, there are credit card companies that have historically had people working from home doing the customer service for them. There have been companies like Amazon and the hotels who have historically hired people to do the customer service from home. Why? Because establishing buildings in certain areas of the country to make sure that people take care of their customers, it's a very expensive proposition. You have to remember that a person that works from home, 9 times out of 10, has to use their own computer, except for Apple. Apple will send you their computer. And I know because I applied for a job with them once. More than once, but it is what it is. Now I'm perfectly qualified because I have an iPhone, I've had an iPad, and we have a laptop and we have a desktop. But when I actually applied for the job, I had literally just ordered the desktop, so I didn't know. I hadn't used a Mac in like 20 years. I used the original Macs. So, needless to say, I didn't qualify for the job. But anyway, let's go back to the conspiracy theories for a second. Companies that have brick and mortar, I can't say anything today, brick and mortar buildings, okay, that are renting or have purchased property where they have invested in the cables for the internet, and they might have solar panels, they might have a lot of investing into these buildings so that they can provide for their employees. I have no doubt that those people want their employees back on the building. It stands to reason. Now, does the gas company have anything to do with it? Well, a little bit, because if you're staying at home, how much money are you really spending on gas? And let me tell you something. I am going to be a very happy camper. My husband is about to become a what they call a hybrid, which means he works from home certain days of the week and then he has to go to the office certain days of the week. I can't wait, because right now I'm spending a ridiculous amount of money on gas because we only have one car. And when it's not him going over there, he has to take the train, which is another expenditure that I don't have the money for. So, going back to the whole thing about, let's take away the conspiracy theories for a second and talk about this whole panic that is being created on the internet. Do I think it's real? No. No offense to the experts that are all over social media, but we all know that half of the people that claim to be experts on a particular topic are really not experts. I am telling you from the jump, I am not an expert. However, for the last 5 years, I have been looking for a job on and off. First, I was looking outside of the home. Then I had, because of my health, I had to drop it to half time, part-time outside of the home. And then the panini came, and I decided that I wanted to work from home because I really don't want to deal with people face to face, okay? In fact, if I can find a job where I don't deal with people at all, like the job that I'm doing now, I would be the happiest camper on the planet. My specifications for a job are already difficult without adding my age. And so I need a job. Like, I have a project I'm working on right now, and I basically turn the computer on, go in, work as many hours as I want or as little hours as I want, get out, done. I need stuff that is that flexible. And there's only one reason why. When I get sick, I might spend 2 hours off the system. I need to be able to spend 2 hours off the system and not be penalized for it. That is also the reason why I can't work full time, because I cannot program my illness to be perfectly timed with my work hours so that if I have to work 8 hours, I'm not sick for 8 hours and then I'm sick afterwards. That doesn't work that way. This is the interesting thing about disability. People think that because you get to do things, you must not be disabled. You're incorrect. But that's a topic for another day. Let's go back to the job market right now. We have, on the one hand, we have the Democrats claiming that the economy is robust, there's a lot of jobs, and blah, 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 blah. On the other hand, you have the people who are telling you that they cannot afford to work for $15 an hour and that they're not finding enough options and they have to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to be able to buy a house and do whatever. There's a disconnect here, okay? I realize I'm kind of like taking a pivot on the conversation, but we're going to deal with both of these things right now. There's a complete disconnect between what the government is telling you and what is really happening outside. Much like there is a disconnect between what the so-called experts are telling you and what's happening in the job market. I can't tell you how many times I've done applications for jobs that are remote positions that I can do from home, because that's all I can do right now. I cannot risk to be in an office with somebody that gets sick because I don't know how that's going to impact me. I had the Rona for a week. I tested positive on day 1, and on day 8, I tested negative. I was sick for an entire month because my stomach did not handle that well. On the other hand, I had an abscess in my back in January, and the 10 days that I had, they put me on antibiotics for 10 days, and those were the happiest days of my life in the last 3 years. Why? I don't know. Do I want to find out? Yes. Am I willing to spend money that I don't have on a doctor to find out what's going on? No. I can't afford it. And we go back, this is why I told you that I was going to talk about 2 things at the same time. This is where we go back to what the government tells you and what the reality is. And by the way, it doesn't matter who's in power in the government. It's always the same thing. It has been this way for the last 20 years. Even more, if you ask me. It's really funny to me how millennials say, we're the first generation. No, you're not. I was able to buy a house once, and I lost it within 10 years of buying the house because the job market died and we couldn't afford the house. And unlike most people who stay in the town or the state where they're at and they're going insane because they can't find a job, I was actually willing, able, and did move looking for better opportunities, and we still couldn't do it. Okay? I still don't know how. And you know, the part that bothers me the most is that my parents I lived in this neighborhood. Across the street was this other neighborhood. We used to live in the other neighborhood. The other neighborhood was 20 times better than the neighborhood where I was living at. In this neighborhood where we used to live, my parents used to pay $300 for a house that was a lot nicer than the house that I was living in. And the house that I was living in, I was paying $1,200. And it was it 15 years after? 20 years after, whatever. let me put it to you this way. It was not enough time for the houses to have gone up 4 times the price. It wasn't. But that's what happened. And you also have to remember that $300 back then would have been worth $1,200 now. I left that house now 15 years ago. So yeah, the prices of the houses did not match the economic the economic environment when it happened. But it is what it is. And what I find fascinating about this is that people say, well, the Republicans did that or the Democrats did that. No, the bottom line is that the people that, and I hate that I'm repeating the bottom line, but the bottom line it is, politicians don't run this country, and I don't know why you people haven't figured this out yet. Billionaires, millionaires, and corporations all run this country. You do get that part, right? The reason why, no matter how much we rebel against corporations, they keep rising, is because they're the ones controlling the idiot politicians. It doesn't matter whose side you're on. And right now, we have a situation where you have a group of people that have allowed a particular person to basically take over their entire party versus a group of people that are pretending to do what's good for the country. Guess whose side I'm going to pick? But even if I pick that side, and I said this the minute Biden won, and if you don't believe me, go look at the videos back then, I said very specifically, I'm glad Biden won, but if he does something I don't like, I'm going to say it. And I'm saying it. Yes, the economy looks great from your side of the fence. But for those of us who are actually paying the taxes for you to have your job, and for us, those of us who are paying the taxes that pay y'all's medical bills and y'all's medical plan, insurance, whatever you want to call it, we're sitting here trying to find I'm in the process of trying to find 3 or 4 jobs I can do from home, not counting the business that I'm building, just so that I can make ends meet and put my family a little bit over red. How is that living? How is that surviving? Do you understand that the average person in the United States of America, it's really funny because I was doing this research for another video, and it said that the median income for an American household is $70,000. What it didn't tell you is that those are 2, maybe 3 people working for those $70,000. And if you don't know why I say that, it's very simple. I was that medium income at one point. About 5 or 6 years ago, between my husband, my daughter, and me, we were making $70,000 a year. Then I got fired. About a year and a half later, my husband got fired. And then a year after that, my daughter got laid off because the company she was working for closed. And within a minute, we went from $70,000 to $30,000. That is the reality for the average American family. The average American family does not have time to keep an eye on their kids because if they're lucky enough to have 2 parents in the household, both parents have maybe 2 jobs. If they're not lucky and there's just a single parent household, that single parent might have 2 to 3 jobs and might be doing stuff on the side to make ends meet, like cleaning somebody's house in the spare time. We have no life. And that has nothing to do with you voting for Trump or for Biden. That has everything to do with the fact that none of them care. Are they doing stuff to help us? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Majority of the time, if you have for lack of a better word, you have a red president and a blue Congress, you're not going to get anything done. If it's the other way around and you have a blue president and a red Congress, you're still not going to get anything done. We are all basically hostages of corporate America and the idiots they decided to support. And you know, the part that I have always talked about, and I've said this before, I realize, but I want to mention it again because it's relevant. The funniest part of this whole thing to me is that the average corporation, the average millionaire, billionaire spends hundreds of thousands of dollars supporting all these candidates. Because the way they get around the laws of supposed laws that exist for campaign finances is that they go ahead and give a little bit to every single one of them so that they, you know, you don't see like we're stupid. Here's the thing. If these millionaires, billionaires, and corporations would take that same amount of money and gave their employees a little raise instead of wasting it on politicians, they would still get everything they want. And they would have the goodwill of the rest of America. But because they're greedy and stupid, they elect even more stupid people to become politicians and basically ruin it for the rest of us. So let's go back for a second to the whole thing about remote work. I have to work remote. I'm the perfect example of somebody that has to work remote. I have a project that I work, and at this particular point in time, it's not bringing enough hours for me to depend on that full time. So what am I doing right now? I am filling up applications once again. Now, if you've been here before, you know that I have been looking on and off for 5 years. There were 2 times in those 5 years when I got so discouraged that I just stopped looking. That's why I told you in the beginning of the video that I was looking on and off for the last 5 years. I think it's more, because I think it was 2018. I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. So do the math. 2018, 2024. It's almost, oh shoot, it's almost 8 years. No, 6 years. 6 years. All of a sudden I was like, what? 6 years. In those 6 years, I have gotten sick, so I had to stop at one point because my flare-ups were too many and I just could not deal. But 2 things stopped me the same thing stopped me twice on the process. And that was the fact that I was sending applications, and I would send 80 applications, get 40 rejection letters, and 40 nothings. Nada. Not even a thank you for applying. Okay? Keep in mind that all of these systems are automated. So it's not that hard for you to say, yeah, we received your letter. We'll let you know if we find something that that matches your skills. Not even that. And then, of course, you receive 40 rejection letters in a space of 1 or 2 weeks, and you get very discouraged. But you start thinking about the other 40 applications, and you wonder what happened to them. Well, as we found out later on, there are these companies that are, first of all, there's always scammers around, and that's another, I'm going to make an entire video about that. But, and I've mentioned it before, but there's also a group of companies that decided to hold on so that they can fill out their coffers with applicants or prospects. And funny enough, and I'm telling you because this literally just happened to me yesterday, they call you when they want to, thinking that you're going to be available for them. So this company that I applied for, I don't know, 6, 8, maybe a year ago, decided to contact me yesterday to see if they could set up an interview on the phone for a position that is in an office. Red flag right off the bat. But here's the thing. You held on to my resume for 8 to 10 months, however long you've had it. Now you're calling me. You do realize that people that are not me have probably already gotten a job, which might be why they contacted me now, because they've probably gone through an entire roster of people, and all those people found jobs. That's why that system of looking for people to work for you is stupid. Because a person that is looking for a job right now is going to keep looking, and even if it's a crappy job, they're going to take the crappy job on, especially in this economy, until they can get the job that they really want. Who would be available 8 months after they apply for your position? Pretty much nobody. And so I'm sitting here trying to get jobs that work with my schedule and my situation and my abilities. And little by little, I'm finding one or two things that may lead to a job. But then there's the other part of this process that is, and it's the fact that a computer is testing you on your ability to answer questions. If I had $1 for every corporation that says that I'm suited to do a job that I have no idea what it entails, I would be a millionaire. On the other hand, I have failed several times for a job that I know that I can do because I've done it before. And I'm going to give you the perfect example. I applied once I have a lot of Chase branches around here, and one of them still has tellers, because I don't know if you know this, if you're a customer of Chase, you might have seen this. Some of Chase branches have completely done away with humans in terms of they don't have tellers anymore. They use the machines, right? Well, this one still has tellers, which is why that's the only one I go to if I have to go to do something. And it's really interesting because I applied, I want to say it was 10 years ago. No, 14 years ago. I applied for a teller position, a part-time teller position. And the irony is that I failed the teller test. I've been a teller before. Not only have I been a teller, but I've worked on a till for pretty much every job I've ever had. I had just finished a year working at a department store. So I counted cash every day for a year. And I took a test and I failed according to the bank. And then I went and I talked to the manager because I got along with everybody in the branch. And I was like, what the hell? And she says, you're not the first person that tells me this. Did they fix it? I don't know because I never took the test again. But I found it fascinating that you leave it all to computers. And of course, now with the advent of AI, you leave it to AI. But AI is not looking for the right things for humans to do. You gave it a core concept of what you wanted, and it's doing whatever it wants with the information you're giving it. And I can tell you from personal experience that half the people that qualify for the jobs, they go, they take the training, they sit on the desk, or they go to the till or whatever. They suck at what they do. They have absolutely no skills to be dealing with customers. But your computer told you they did. And instead of putting the squeeze on the companies that created the programs that are hiring the people, because by the way, that's a third party, they blame the employees. No, the employee took the test. Whether they were faking it or not is irrelevant. They took the test and your computer told you that was the right person. Meanwhile, there's tons of people like me that really need a job, that really want to work. When we don't find a job because somebody was smarter than us at taking a test, most of the things that you do as a teller, you can teach a person. No, you cannot teach them to count. But guess what? Nowadays, there's very little cash that goes around in a bank. Except for the big batches of and even businesses are not dealing with that much cash. Most of it is transactions through credit cards and debit cards. So the environment has changed. Why are you asking me to add up things that are, or do exercises that don't reflect what's happening in the market now? I don't know. All I can tell you is that looking for a job right now is amazingly hard. You have way too many scam artists trying to get your information, which is why I always tell people, unless you're sure you're dealing with a reputable company, do not give them your social security. And when you're working with a reputable company, make sure that you contact the company and that the person in question is working, doing what this person is claiming to be. Because I've already seen several videos where the person decided at the last minute to contact their contact in a corporation and it turns out that that person doesn't do that kind of work. First hint that you need to know, the average big corporation has an HR department. The manager of a specific department is not going to be the first point of contact for you. It just isn't. Not anymore. There's a lot of hints I can give you based on what my experience has been. And that is something that's going to happen on Aviddiva from in the near future, because I'm going to actually stockpile those videos. But just so you know, the market for remote jobs is not going anywhere. If anything, it's getting bigger because companies are figuring out that they can hire more people in more states with very little expenditure on their part. But my advice to those companies is you need to make the test better so that the people that actually want to do your job can qualify for them. Because you can teach people how to do a lot of things. One more example before I go. I have failed 2 tests in writing, which is something I do every day. Even though both companies suggest to you to use Grammarly, but make you turn it off to take the test. If I'm going to be using Grammarly when I'm working for you, why can't I use Grammarly when I'm taking the test? Grammarly is not going to write the topic for me. I have to write something for Grammarly to correct it. And the fact that you haven't figured that out yet is really disheartening. I can't wait to hear your horror stories about trying to find a job in this market. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.